Emulating Glenn Beck's patented fusion of entertainment and enlightenment is Locksmith Charley, who will answer all your questions about locks and keys, automotive security systems, and safe maintenance and servicing. He'll also discuss how you can avoid being scammed by unscrupulous tradespeople, people who are oftentimes referred to as ghosts or gypsies. Locksmith Charley has 25 years experience and was recently sworn in as Southwest Director of Associated Locksmiths of America. And now, here's your host, Locksmith Charley.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Locksmith Charley here in the wonderful KFNX studios with Andrew and Ryan, and Dave Morris has joined us, and Billy is here taking pictures for us. I received word this week that the fourth, as Savage might say, the Fourth Circuit Court of Schlemiels has rendered an opinion in the Baldinos versus Google case, and I understand we have Mark Baldino on the line to talk about it with us. How's it going, Mark?
Hey, good, Charlie. Thanks for having me.
Delighted. So, what's your opinion about their opinion?
Well, you assuming I'll be long enough, but in short, I'll read you what they wrote, and it's only one sentence. It says, here the district court correctly determined that Baldinos failed to show the defendants made any representations, which would be Google, and ZipLocal was a minor one. Rather, the locksmiths who generated the information that appeared on the defendants' websites are solely responsible for making any faulty or misleading representations or descriptions of fact. So what they're saying is that even though Google had all this false information on there, which they're not denying, even though ZipLocal had the false information on their website, which they're not denying, that it was provided by the locksmiths, therefore it was okay to publish this information.
Well, that is what they're saying. Now, it did say something in there that you had expressly abandoned your claims under RICO. Well, did you guys really do that?
The RICO was a little bit tougher to prove a motive, as explained to me by my I think my great lawyers, Donald Holmes and Andrew Basilica, and they said that if you want to go after RICO or continue on that, on the appeal, that you have to show that Google did this actions with a course of action to defraud you out of money. A little bit hard to prove, much like the old-time protection money, call it, that the mafia did in New York City. Hey, pay me $25, and I'll make sure nothing happens to your plate glass window on your business. So we couldn't go that far, or it would be really hard to prove. So we just went with, state the facts. Are they real? Are they false? And, of course, as you know, thousands of listings for locksmiths are a fake address, a fake name. Unfortunately, the phone number works.
And I would think that the RICO part, under what you just said, would be easier to prove because Google has obviously got a profit motivation, especially in the AdWords section, where they're actually profiting every time that somebody clicks on something. If they know the information is false and they're promoting it, then that would seem like it would be easier to prove under that.
Well, one could say that also. One could, that is the angle of the attack and the result of them putting in all the fake listings. Although the fake listings are not to damage us as much as to enhance their pocketbook, because they create all this confusion and all these thousands of listings. So in order to rise above them, you need to pay for AdWords or display ad in the directories, on and on. So they force you to pay in order to be seen. Is it racketeering? I think both you and me agree, but would the court see it that way? It may be a stretch to prove. even though they're just going to claim, well, we are ignorant, we're not doing anything of the such. But I think that's really the underlying reason they want to publish all these phony listings.
I had a question for you, Mark. This is Ryan, by the way. I've been reading through the court document that you sent Charlie. I've been reading through it quite thoroughly, actually. Did your attorneys ever bring up the Google AdWords side of things? Because it seems like to me that, knowingly or not, Google is publishing false information, misleading information on their website. If they're pulling information from like Yellow Pages or the phone company and posting that stuff up, but I can understand how they're not, that's all automated. But if somebody's paying them for advertisement, through Google AdWords or for through their ad space, and they're giving them that information, at that point Google is responsible, at least in my opinion. So I'm just curious if your lawyers ever went that route of trying to prove that they're
here's what they said. Okay, under 230, which is the Federal Communications Decency Act, which addresses information on the internet, an information content provider or an interactive computer service. Okay, years ago, they were an interactive computer service. You put in some kind of terms in the search box, and it would show you the most relevant web pages. Well, over time, this changed, and they came up with AdWords, which is their product. Mm-hmm. So it's not a website when you look at it. It's still on their web page, and they're accepting money for it. So therefore, by accepting money, you can say whatever you want to. It doesn't matter if it's the truth or not. They're making money from it. So
well, and that's my point is that if somebody's paying Google to advertise, at that point, Google is responsible for what they're posting on their website, because they're accepting money to post money to post information, and they have to be responsible for what they're advertising at that point. And it's like me taking money from somebody to go promote for them or advertise for them, and completely, just advertising the wrong information or lying about the products they offer. I got to be responsible for that. It's no different. At that point, Google is being paid to advertise, and they have to be held responsible. That's what I think.
Yeah, how they're getting around it, though, if you see one of at the top three, they're usually the paid ads. If you click on one of them, it directs you immediately to the website. So if you say I've clicked Locksmith 24/7 is the name of the company. I'm looking at one right now. And it starts out $19 local locksmith, 24/7 locksmith services. Now, everywhere I click on that listing, it goes to their web page. And according to 230, I would have to go after Quick Locksmith 24/7 directly for lying on the internet or promoting a business without a license or false address or false advertising, whatever. So Google gets around it on that, even though by paying, they will put that locksmith's website at the top of the page is what they're doing. So does accepting money make them liable for accepting or promoting a false website?
The only way that they would be liable for anything would be during that pay-per-click area if the company, any of the ones that are in the top three of the pay-per-click, which are labeled ads. Now, they might be liable if they are posting addresses and locations inside of that area. But the same locksmith as you just said, and you're in Virginia, is the second one. What number are they? You mentioned the locksmith.
The 24/7 Locksmith service is a second in the listings. They're www.quicklocksmith247.com.
Yeah, that's showing up under Arizona's.
And that's under Arizona's as well.
Yeah.
And we're in we're 3,000 miles apart, or pretty clse from where you are in Virginia.
Well, then that's correct. Many of the ad words are done by what I would call the scammers or phony locksmiths, and no one can run a service call for $19. I mean, that's known. But
it doesn't pay for the gas or the time.
But then that's just part of it. They want you to call them, get you out to your home or business, and then they'll charge you whatever they want to and say, well, yeah, the service cost is still $19, but the actual work's $200, even though it should only be $70 or $125 plus,
Well, so there you go. Look, Mark, we're going to take a little break here. Maybe after we come back, you can explain about the concept of the Virginia letter and what that is doing to Google and them.
Yeah, I'll be glad to, Charlie. Okay. All right.
Welcome back to the Locksmith Charley Show. If any of you out there have any questions, we are monitoring the mailbox at KFNX at locksmithcharley.com. And, of course, you can always call in at 602-277-5369 or 866-536-1100, toll-free. We have with us on the line from the Virginia, Maryland area, Mark Baldino. And Mark is going to elaborate a little bit on the laws that he and Gary Ford have gotten passed in Virginia and the content and the meaning of the, quote, Virginia letter, unquote.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. Yeah, there's a law, there's licensing in Virginia, Maryland also, but in Virginia we also have a law that states that no unlicensed entity may advertise in any kind of search media, whether it's print or online directories. So I reported over 500 on Super Media sales and over 500 on Zip Local, and those were just in Northern Virginia, to the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. And I said, you need to enforce the law, which states that these are advertising media, and they have thousands of false listings. Simple enough. And each one is actually a misdemeanor, which is about $2,500 each if found guilty. Now, the state, under the DCGS, Department of Criminal Justice Systems, has to notify these entities and give them a chance to remove them. And they did so. And Super Media and Zip Local failed to remove them. So I took the complaint down to the magistrate. The magistrate then gave it to the Commonwealth Attorney whether they wanted to move forward on it. Now, again, these guys are the ones that are supposed to be on trial, at least that's what I thought, because of the law. And the letter came back stating, after a review of relevant statutes and applicable case law, we do not find these companies have placed before the public through any media an advertisement for services in the Commonwealth requiring a license, certification, or registration. Now, I can repeat that. Have placed before the public through any media an advertisement for services in the Commonwealth requiring a license. Okay. They all require a license. They are in the books. I'm not sure what the state is thinking when they're saying that Super Media Sales and Zip Local don't have unlicensed listings in there. They certainly do, because you can easily check it by going to the state website and looking up the names of the locksmith companies, and they are not there. Well, that is why I gave them the list.
I guess maybe I'm a little confused, Mark. The letter that I was talking about was the one that they sent out to Google saying, hey, you've got to remove all of these entities that you're advertising that aren't licensed.
Yes, that was the first step in it. They sent the letter to the advertising entities, and, you know, to give them a chance, because many times these are, you know, maybe placed by the rogue locksmiths who make up the addresses, who make up the names, and they aren't licensed. So we give them a chance to remove them, and if they do not remove them, then they are culpable under Virginia law. And the problem is the law is good. We have licensing in the state. That's good. But nobody wants to enforce it with any of the search engines or online directories of all these false listings. So despite that first letter going out, none of these search engines want to remove all the bogus listings, and after all that, the state doesn't want to enforce it. That is correct. Yeah, sadly, it's correct. And you know, I have one of my guys at work, you know, when he comments on justice, he says, no, it's just us, because I don't understand in either of these cases, you know, the law should be on our side. You're not allowed to advertise, you would think, without a license in the state of Virginia.
I can probably answer that question real quick. Profit. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of profit in it for the state. They're not going to make money by enforcing these laws.
Well, there is, because it's $2,500 per bad listing.
It's a little more than a speeding ticket.
That's a little more than a speeding ticket, yes, but how much are they going to have to pay the lawyers, you know, the state lawyers? How much are they going to have to pay the clerks, you know, the staff?
Well, they take you to court for a speeding ticket. I mean, if you do not appear for a speeding ticket or a summons that an officer gave you, whether it's, you know, $75 is the fine, they will put out a warrant and arrest you.
Yeah.
So, and the Commonwealth Attorney is the wing of the state that is for the prosecution or represents the state in these matters. So they have a Commonwealth Attorney in the courtroom when you are on trial for speeding, so to speak. If you say I'm not guilty, I wasn't speeding, well, then they bring in the evidence, and the prosecuting attorney, which is from the Commonwealth's attorney, basically takes over. So,
and you'd think if Google or Yahoo or Zip or whoever would have 1,000 listings out there at $2,500 a pop, you know, that's what, $250,000 they could get on one filing.
That's the maximum. That doesn't necessarily mean they'll be able to levy the maximum.
Why not?
Why?
Well, it doesn't mean that the judge would, but
that's what I'm saying.
Well, they would have to remove them, or they would be facing those fines. If they said, okay, we're sorry, Your Honor, we'll pay you $100 of court costs, and we will remove them. But of course, if they didn't remove them, I think it would become a different matter. But the intent is to get them removed from these directories, so I'm not snowed out, or all the locksmiths are snowed out across the country by 1,000 listings to year one. I mean, that's the crime. And I think the crime is committed by these directories and search engines, not only to force you to advertise, otherwise you're not seen at the top of the page or even on the first page.
Well, at least
it's a bonus to the scammers, but
they need to at least be held responsible for, you know, the people that are advertising, you know, paying them for advertisement and AdWords and stuff like that. You know, in my opinion, if you're going to pay for that, the advertising company has a responsibility to make sure that you're advertising the correct and truthful information. If you're not licensed, if you're not a legitimate company.
Here's the interesting thing: they are not advertising in like Super Media and Zip Local. All the lists you see, or the vast majority of them, are lists they purchased, or they stolen, scraped from another website, or got permission to use them from an RSS feed. Okay, so that information is not an advertisement. If you want to say anything, and you can do the simple test, if you were to go to superpages.com, search Locksmith, Alexandria, Virginia, hit the search button, it still says Super Pages at the top of the page. If you were to click on one of those listings and find out all the information about that locksmith, it still says Super Pages. So the question is, it's not a third party. It's Super Pages information. It's the same with Zip Local. It's the same with Yelp. It's the same with Angie's List, and it's the same with Google. So
and you and I have debated this a time or three before, and of course my opinion is that the ultimate evildoer here, besides the criminals that are engaging in this conduct, is of course the phone companies when they let these people subscribe to hundreds of different telephone numbers and then provide the ability for them to list all the phony addresses. And when they pump out the directory listings for the information brokers such as Axiom and InfoGeek and all of them to pick up and sell them to Google and Yahoo and whoever.
Correct,
so,
and it all starts there. So it can be as easy as some company just getting a phone number, giving the phone company a fake name, fake address, and it gets published around the world.
So what we really need to do is go after the phone companies that are causing this to occur to begin with, and maybe lobbying our senators and representatives to modify the Telecommunications Act to where it actually makes some mention of directory listings, because the FCC has told me before that they can't make any rules or regulations about directory listings until it's actually addressed in the law. And
right, correct.
So a change would have to be made in the law at the federal level before the FCC can engage in rulemaking.
Yeah, and that's a long road. It's a lot of time, a lot of money, and lobbyists and this and that, you would think. The other thing is I would just like to get them somebody in a court of law to see, what is really right or wrong.
All right. Well, we're coming up at the bottom of the hour. We're going to have some brief news and announcements here, and we'll be back with Mark Baldino in just a moment. And we're back on the Locksmith Charley Show with Mark Baldino from Virginia, talking about the enforcement or lack thereof in the Virginia and Maryland licensing laws. Mr. Ryan had a question for you, Mark, about what it actually takes to get licensed over there.
Well, to get licensed in Virginia, you have to, it's actually a 2-day class you need to take. They do a background check on not only each individual for the company, but also let me see. They do the corporation has to get licensed, okay, and goes through the process, and each individual locksmith for that company needs to get registered too.
Are there any educational tests, knowledge tests, practical tests, anything like that?
Yeah, the owner has to go through a compliance classes, which is about 1 day, which tells you, everything you have to do to keep your company's registration up to date, and also about the individuals who work there need to go to a 2-day class on basic locksmithing. It's not anything dramatic. What can you do in 2 days? But at least it just tests you on the basic underlying locksmith skills or an awareness, and also the awareness of your requirements for the Department of Criminal Justice System and your license. Okay.
Now, when I went and interviewed one of the managers at the BS department over in Sacramento, they told me that under California policy, once they determined that somebody did not have a criminal background record, they were not allowed to go any farther and find out if they're actually able to legally work in this country. Is that one of the tests over in Virginia?
I know they do a background check. I'm not sure if you show a proper visa, they would allow you to stay.
So you do have to show them proper identification, either state issued or government issued.
That would be true, but I'm not sure off the top of my head if they show you a work visa, if that one count also.
Well, yeah, because if they're here on a student or a visitor visa, that does not entitle them to work in this country.
Okay, what you're stating is,
well, that's employment.
They just never get them. What you're saying, then, and as we know, that most of the locksmiths you see on 24007 Locksmith Service don't have a license. They never applied.
Well, no, we were during the break. We were talking about, your fight and what you're going through, and how we here in Arizona and the Southwest, we couldn't even try to make a legal battle like this because there is no licensing requirements out here. And so I'm apprenticed under Andrew, and I've talked to him several times about some sort of licensing requirement in Arizona because, it adds legitimacy to this industry, and it adds validity to what we do, and it makes us look more legitimate. And so, I'm curious about what other states are doing. I know California requires a locksmithing license, and according to Charlie, you pay a $40 fee, show them your ID, and they give you your license. Right. Which to me doesn't mean anything.
Well, the renewal is $45 every 2 years. The first time you go through, there's an application fee and all that.
Okay.
And you have to go pay to get fingerprinted and all that. Another one of the things that they told me in California is when they actually did go out and conduct some sting operations, and they'd call the phone numbers for some of these criminals, the people that they sent out actually did have California licenses, even if the company was not a licensed entity. Do you know if anybody in Maryland or Virginia have done any sting operations, and if so, what the results are, if they're sending out licensed or non-licensed people, or what's going on?
Here's another, I guess, moronic thing to say about our legal system and the state and government in general. Yes, they have Department of Criminal Justice Systems. Yes, they have a wonderful licensing program for not only locksmiths, but for guards, armed guards, private investigators, alarm industry, which all need it. It's quasi law enforcement. But as far as a sting, to my knowledge, there's been only one done in Virginia Beach. There has been none in Northern Virginia, even though I have requested, over 100, okay? And I just gave up because they state they don't have the funds or the manpower to do these things. So basically, if you're not licensed, nobody cares. I don't think the state cares. I don't think the federal government cares. I'm trying to figure out, why do we even have these laws if no one will enforce them? If you're not licensed, why, if you show up in a service truck, and you don't have a license for your lock company, then why isn't anything being done? If you're advertising without a license, why isn't anything being done? And it's a question of the ages. And basically, as far as I'm concerned right now, you can do whatever you want on the internet. You can also do whatever you want in the state. They don't care. So
there's that word from a few weeks ago that I was talking about, apathy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think not only just with what we're concerned about, but it's probably that thought is valid throughout everything with government on the state and federal level. I mean, that's a bigger picture. I think, for every dollar of our tax money we get 10 cents in return for services. What happens to all the money? I mean, I know that the Commonwealth Attorney's Office has at least 16 attorneys in there in just Fairfax County alone. Not one of them can send a subpoena to Supermedia and say, you have to appear in court. You're breaking Virginia law. There's 500 phony listings you have.
Well, but they're going to want you to just go after those listings. That's technically what they're basically saying, is they're not responsible for any of that stuff. It's the listing that's responsible.
I'm saying the listing is, because if you were to go to superpages.com, you will see their URL. And so if the URL is the website, okay?
Well, the URL is the website, but that's like giving Facebook.
But I can't go in. It's not a web page. Yeah, I can't go in, or you can't go in and change a listing or alter it. Who owns the listing if it's on somebody's URL? Because that's hard coded into their HTML.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that the lister, you and I have a listing on Superpages. Whether it does anything and I get any calls off of it, I don't think I do. It's just there. But
did you put? Yeah, but you didn't place it, correct?
Oh, I put it all in there. I had to go through and add it myself.
You added it yourself.
And this was years ago.
Okay.
So I'm responsible for it.
Page?
That has links. It has links to my web page from my listing.
But also, look, a lot of them don't go to a web page.
What do you mean?
Well, if you go to superpages.com and you say, Locksmith, Alexandria, Virginia, you'll see a listing for really over 150 locksmiths. That still says Superpages at the top, www.superpages.com. If you click on one of those listings, you're still on Superpages with all the information about that lock company. Does not go to a web page. And that's what I'm saying. It's
but
the information.
I think what the court there is saying is Superpages did not enter all that information onto their web page. The individual company owner entered all
they did. No, they really did. It's on their web page. Nobody else can enter it in there. There's no portal to enter that information. They have my listing on there. I didn't enter it.
Well, and it comes from Dex Media, Axiom, and Infogroup.
Okay, correct. It comes from somebody else. But it's still hard-coded on their web page. Does not go www.axiom.com or www.dexmedia.com. Still on Superpages. So it's theirs. As far as I'm concerned, it's theirs, and it's quite obvious.
So, Mark, are you saying if you go to Superpages and look up Baldino's that you can't claim your own listing and that you can't edit the content in the listing on Superpages because you're Mr. Baldino?
No, you can claim it, but it's still Superpages. The website still says Superpages. Does not say.
And we'll be back in a moment.
Baldinos.com.
The Delta.
Welcome back to the Locksmith Charley Show. We have Mark Baldino from Virginia with us this hour. And sorry you got cut off by the music there, Mark.
Okay.
But I guess we're all having the same problem, and we all don't quite know how to deal with it. And when we can't get anybody in the government to try to do anything to positively affect the problem, it just becomes a bigger problem. Have you got any concrete ideas?
I think the thing to do is if every locksmith could take, I know it's expensive, or we could band together, to fight this in numerous court cases. The oddity on everything is I haven't been in court to be able to present any evidence and proof. I have not been able to get depositions. I've not been able to get interrogatories. They have not been on the witness stand. I can't show, reams of information and screenshots that I have. It's called a trial, and you present evidence to see if somebody's guilty or not guilty.
So they're not even taking this to trial. They're just dismissing it before it even goes to trial.
Correct.
Yeah, that's...
And this was an appeal on a pretrial dismissal motion that was sustained.
And that's what I was curious. That was the other thing I was curious about, was whether this was an actual trial or... And it just...
No.
I don't...
They just regurgitated the first ruling, but we didn't get a chance to present any kind of oral argument. And we did state it very clearly what's going on, but I don't think the judges really understood it, or maybe they did, and for some reason going, we're not going to rock the boat here, because this is huge stuff. Every search engine, every directly today, everyone, has this false information in it.
Well, it's going to change that industry. It's going to change that industry completely. Once you start making them take take accountability for what they're posting, there's going to be a drastic shift in the internet.
But it boils down to, like I was saying on the break too, and Mark didn't hear this. It goes back to our Facebook pages or our YouTube page or your Instagram page or your Twitter page or any other social media out there. Are those media providers and Google, they have listings, but Google still is really just a search engine. That's all it is. They have that, and they've tried to intertwine a lot of other stuff, but Google at heart, the main part of Google, is a search engine. That's it.
No, then that is the old Google. That is when they started in 1992. They were a search engine, and the laws were written for search engines, but they've transgressed from interactive.
Transformed, maybe.
I don't know how have they transformed into what they are today.
AdWords and maps, those two things.
The second that you can pay them money, and this is where I'm going to have to agree with Mark, is the second that you're able to pay them money to influence the search engine results, they're no longer a search engine. Because you're not just simply posting information.
You're not paying for organic listing. You are paying for a ad. Yes, you're paying the top three.
Okay,
we can talk about the top three, but I can go down to the organic listings in pretty much any city, and most of them organically, about half are not legit and half are legit. So does it boil down to that most of the locksmiths in the industry don't understand how search engine optimization and other things work?
Explain to me the maps. Because you are on a Google product. You cannot put a pinpoint on a Google map yourself.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't. Google
yes,
has
you can.
to do it.
No.
Tell me how you do it. Because
I put mine on.
You went to a Google Plus page, made a Google Plus page, and Google put you on.
Yes.
You did not. You do not have code to Google's website.
No, but I created a listing, put it on there.
On Google's site, not yours. Now,
so I guess I guess I don't understand where you're coming from, Mark.
No, you don't. Okay. When you say organic, you click on an organic listing, and it goes to www.baldinos.com. That is not Google. But if you stay on the maps, or you do a Google Plus page, that is a Google, www.google.your Google Plus page.
Okay.
It's not your website. So that means that information is Google's.
No, it's not. Because I put it there. But I put it there, Mark. That's the point. I put it there. As the user, I put it there.
Sure, but that's not the way the law is written.
Yes, it is. That's exactly how the law is written.
Actually, it is, Mark. Not necessarily the law, but the way the decisions have come down is if Google is not the original author of the content, then they can't be held responsible, supposedly.
How do I know? How do I know, looking at that Google didn't write that?
That goes down to buyer beware, period.
Yes, but that's not the point I'm That's not what this is about. Is it Google's information or is it your information?
It would be my information at that point because I'm the
on
one
on Google's website.
Yes, on Google's website.
On any of the
my websites, anything that is on my Google Plus page, which is transferred over to your Google Maps page, which is transferred. No, hold on, Mark. Which is transferred to everything Google. Your YouTube channel, which is owned by Google. Your Pinterest, not Pinterest. What's it? Panoramio. Picasso. All of these things that Google Intertwine actually owns, you can do everything on it. You want to put a pinpoint on a map? Go to Panoramio and add one. You could take a picture of whatever location in the world you want and say this is from this exact GPS coordination that goes to the Google Maps.
It doesn't make it right if it's still on the
Well,
that's
but who's responsible for that?
Here's the one example. If you go to Yelp, Yelp is a interactive computer service or the information content provider. But if you go to Yelp, it says www.yelp.com, and I'm looking at Duke Street 24-hour emergency service, and it says www.yelp.com/biz Duke Street 24-hour. It's still on Yelp's website.
Yes, but it's user created. Yelp did not. Yes, it is.
I cannot.
Yes, it is.
I can guarantee you,
Mark, listen to me for a sec. Okay,
it is user created, Mark.
Not all of them. All the ones.
No, they are not. It says claim this business.
Okay.
That is not created by anybody but
which
Yelp.
Came from a list that was created from another company, which the other company is not responsible for. It is third-party content.
Do you have any stolen merchandise? Maybe I can buy it, but you know what? If you're found out and I found out that information is stolen, I got to return it.
Have you ever bought business leads in life? I mean, really, honestly, over the years that I've ever bought in business leads in any of the businesses that I've ever owned, it's the same thing. That's exactly what they're buying. They're buying.
Yes, but now you're responsible for that. You're responsible for it. You paid them money. Those are your leads. What you do with them is up to you. But you better be prudent in what you do with them, especially if they're filled with a bunch of false information.
Well, it goes back to the content creation. Who created the content originally?
No, once ownership is taken over by these search engines, it's their information. They're just saying, look, I didn't commit that crime. They did. Right. No, they committed the crime. It's their information. Tell me why it's not their information.
Do you have a Facebook page for your personal self?
Yeah.
Okay. If you put something illegal on your page, copyrighted illegally, which people do every single day, have you ever shared a picture on your Facebook that is not owned by you or somebody? Any of those little memes? Have you reshared one of those ever?
No.
You've never reshared a meme?
No.
Okay. Well, any of that stuff is all copyrighted material, and people could be sued over that, basically, is what's happening. That's where this whole protection in lies, is it's not their responsibility.
Right. But what I'm saying is, and listen carefully, they did not, I did the Facebook, you did the Facebook, but I can show you circumstance after circumstance where the search engine placed that information on them, on their website themselves. I didn't do it.
Well, we're obviously not going to get this resolved tonight. It's a huge problem. A lot of work needs to be done on it, and we will be back next week, ladies and gentlemen, on the Locksmith Charley Show, and maybe by that time somebody will have some answers.
Good night, guys.
Have a good night. Thanks, Mark.
If you like my YouTube channel, please subscribe below. It's over here. I don't know. It's somewhere, anywhere. It's wherever they like to put it. I don't know. But thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe. Tell your friends. Share my videos. If you have any questions, email me, andrewslockandkeyaz@gmail.com. or don't hesitate to pick up the phone. I answer my phone all the time. 480-437-4022. Thank you, and have a great day.